Hey guys, Darkmoon Faire is right around the corner. If you're watching this video, it might be coming out in just a few hours. And I've theory-crafted a few decks for you guys to try out. Some of these decks are, I wouldn't like, if you're low on dust, I wouldn't recommend crafting any of these. They're ideas. They're kind of things I want to try out. I will be realistically taking some of these starting archetypes, trying them out. If it feels kind of good, I'll keep playing it more, maybe adjust. If it just feels really bad, I might give up. Reality is deck building is tough, but it's fun. So I have some ideas. If you guys want to try out stuff, you get some cards of decks that. And so first one I have a Gala Warlock, but with the sort of the soul package. But one of the reasons the soul package was weaker is because it kind of only had school spirits. But I'm running the Fire Breather card, which is a 4/3 battle cry, deal 2 to all. And the advantage of this over Crazed Netherwing: 1, it doesn't hurt yourself, and 2, it's unconditional. So part of the problem with dragons is, one is Dragon Queen Alexstrasza is just kind of weak right now that it's, especially in Galakron Warlock, where you need 1 mana, so you can't do it on 9. You can't. It's harder to do it from behind, and so the dragon package, while is real nice, but we're kind of just committing to the soul package. But we can put this fire breather and kind of smooth out some of the AoE weakness of the soul package. So between that, we have 2 dark skies, 2 skull spirits, and 2 fire breathers. So we have tons of board clears. And then on top of that, we have 1 brittlebone and the obviously incredibly powerful Plague of Flames. And then between that, we run Ticketus. So that's the new 6-mana legendary, where once it's 8/8 demon, when you haven't corrupted it, removes the top 5 cards from your deck. But if you have corrupted it, meaning playing a minion higher, or a card with higher cost than that, it will remove the top 5 deck. So this is kind of very control-y. We're trying to control the board, and then we can win the control mirror through Ticketus. So we can remove the top 5 cards. Maybe our opponent's playing a Cthulhu win condition. They get to their Cthulhu. They shuffle it all in. They see 4 cards. We go Ticketus. Bam. Cthulhu gone. And they're in fatigue. So I think that can be a very strong win condition. But will the rest of the stuff be good enough? I'm not sure, so it's something to try out. It might be a thing if we go back to the old dragon package, but I wanted to try this kind of style out, especially now with the new Fire Breather card. Next deck I got you is kind of like a pirate sort of Amalgam Warrior, where we're mainly running pirates, but we're taking advantage of the new weapon. What is it called? Ringmaster's Baton, that gives a mech, pirate, and dragon +1/+1. So part of the power of this is it's just very efficient tempo for that. That's +9/+9 for a 2-mana card, which is insanely efficient on the high roll. Now it's not, doesn't come out all at once, but that's still very good. We can even do things like buff up our South Sea deckhands and then burst them our opponent down if we're like trying to go for a burst play or something like that. We just have a lot of like very strong, efficient minions. We have the parachute brigades that come out for free. We're running prize vendors. Part of the reason I wanted to run these 2 Murlocs, one is it doesn't lose value. It's like a Cold Light Oracle. So if you're playing aggressively, the card for your opponent often isn't as good as the card for you. But also it can make, we run the new 5-mana Tenet Trasher, which is the dragon that gets it's a 5/5 rush that costs 1 less. So it's really easy. It could be really easy to get down. Sometimes you're playing an aggro, like a mirror, and maybe you play hot air balloon on 1, and then they don't play anything on 1, and then you go something like Sky, or you go something like Sky Raider, or let's say the Murloc, the 2/3 Murloc. Now next turn you have a 3-mana or 3/3 that rushes down. Like that can be when your opponent doesn't answer, every minion becomes a discount threat there. Also, we're running these Circus Amalgams just kind of to smooth out our, because we do have the Ringmaster Watley that draws a dragon, a pirate, and a mech. But let's say you've drawn both your dragons, that could be bad, but we run the Amalgams kind of to smooth out whatever card we're missing. So We have some. I really like the new 4-mana. I believe it's the Sword Eater, where it's a pirate battle cry taunt pirate that immediately gives you basically a Fury War Axe, a 3/2 weapon. So that's just really really efficient. You know, it's a Fury War Axe attached to a 4/2/5 taunt. Think about a Fury War Axe. While it's not really that playable anymore, think about the level of efficiency. We're running one Corsair Catch, one Inkar. I'm not sure about the Corsair Catch. I could see that being cut, but I figured I'd run one just to sometimes tutor out these cards, the Ringmaster's Baton and the Inkar. So between all this, I think you're going to have a lot of draw on this deck. You're not going to run out of stuff, and you're just going to be. I think this could be a very good deck to get to Legend. Maybe at the higher levels, usually these kind of decks don't do as well, but I think could be a very good deck to get to Legend. So. Especially if you're not really sure what to try out, you've already got some of these cards. Let's say you got an Inkar, go out and try out this deck. I think you're going to have a good time. So next I got a Secret Hunter. This one is really weird, and I'm not sure if this is going to work at all. But I think this Petting Zoo card is a very strong card. It's summon a 3/3 beast basically for every secret you have. So we're trying to get a bunch of secrets out. We're running a lot of secrets. And then we're trying to, we also run the Ringling's Rifle while we're just kind of doing normal sort of hunter stuff. And then we're trying to make a big rider turn. And then we even can rush those riders in if we're kind of behind on tempo to give with the brooms. But we also can just Tundra Rhino them down. So there's some tweaks here. You know, I might cut the animated broomsticks. I might put in kill commands. I'm not sure on some of this stuff, but I kind of like this concept. So, you know, we can do a lot of damage just with the Eaglehorn Bow. And so this is the concept where we're just, you know, playing secrets, and then we have these big turns. And this is kind of reminiscent of old secret, the 5-mana Spellstone, where you summon 3/4 3/3s. We could do that same kind of thing very reliably. So I think this could be real strong. I mean, I've been tweaking it, but we'll see. It's something I definitely want to try out. Next we got the Soul Demon Hunter. This is the most boring, but if you just want to win day one, you don't care about how you're basically playing an old top tier deck, but just with a new broken card, play Soul Demon Hunter. We got the Bladed Lady. It's a 6-mana 6/6, costs 1 if you have 6 or more attack. So you can do stuff, buff of your attack. I'm only running 3 new cards. Lilinoth as well, which is the lifesteal legendary where your lifesteal hits their face. I think you could just plop this down, and even if you don't run anything else, when your opponent has to trade into it, it's going to really hurt them, because let's say they trade 3 things into it, then they just might take 6 damage right there, which is incredibly strong on its own. So I think it's kind of just good enough independently to run. And you might be able to pull off some fancy Warblade stuff with it as well. So we're just kind of running old cards. But, you know, I could see a little tweaking. I could see cutting something for a Penflinger to put that back in, or a Horde Pillager. But the general idea is the same as the old one, but with a few new additions. So, you know, if you just want to win at day one and you're like, screw fancy bad decks that 90% of them won't work, but maybe one of them does, you play Soul Demon Hunter. You could get #1 Legend just by farming all the bad decks. So, yeah. Next, we got Aggro Paladin. I think aggro could be potentially really good. So I was looking at it, and I think some of the dude stuff sadly seems really bad, but the cards that do seem good. So I believe the Carnival Baker, where every time you summon a 1 health minion, it gets, I believe, +1/+2, which is incredibly strong when it sticks. So you could do things like play 2 or Guide on 1 and then coin this out in Hero Power and get a free 2/3. And so we have, you know, tons of 1-drops. We have the Voracious Readers, and I actually think this Darkmoon statue is really good. Raid Leader used to see playing Odd Paladin. Obviously, Odd Paladin is much more consistent than that, but the fact with this deck is, if we have 3 things, this Darkmoon statue is going to be really hard to kill because it has 5 life. Much harder to kill than old Raid Leader, where Raid Leader was never about like the attack. It was about buffing up your stuff. So I think this is just a strictly better Raid Leader. And on top of that, when you corrupt it, it becomes a 4/5. So it's incredibly efficient once it gets corrupted. So it's not like as bad later on necessarily in certain situations. So we kind of run a very aggro package. We do run the card majority we run is the Hand of Adals, Voracious Readers, and the Zealot's Pride. I'm running this Wriggling Horror card, which is the 2 mana 2/1, give your minions +1/+1. I think this card might be the card of the set that's like people aren't talking about. Fungalmancer, the old Mushroom Power, was an insane card that was kind of plagued the meta for a long time, and I think this card might be better in really aggro decks, because you could do something like go 2 guide on 1 and play this on 2, and all of a sudden you have 2/2/2s hitting you in the face, and just be very, very aggressive. We can use True Silvers to kind of finish off games, or just blessings. We run the Leave of Justice to clear big minions. I think this card's just really solid. And on top of it, running Aldor Attendant isn't even bad, because it's just a 1/3, and we kind of want stuff. So we can sometimes get discounts of this, but we don't even really need it. And the thing is, we're just kind of being aggressive. We got the first day of school. We got lots of premium 1-drops. Brazen Zealot is really good when your opponent doesn't fight for a board, because if you're playing a kind of more control-y deck, and they a lot of times will do a clear on turn 3 or 4, sometimes you can go Brazen Zealot and then do something like on 1, then do like 2 1-drops on 2, and then do a bunch of stuff on 3, and then maybe they clear that then, but they've already taken 8-9 damage, which can be huge. So that's kind of what I'm going on here. We'll see, but I think this idea, I feel like, is going to be really good, but we'll see. Next, I got another Hunter deck for you. I think Hunter's got a lot of fun stuff. I'm really hoping it's good and not just crap, because Hunter, like I like Hunter, but I don't like the boring ABC Hunters. I kind of like the crazy Hunters, and this is really crazy. I can't say I'm confident this deck will be good, but so I want to. If you want a good deck, do not craft this deck. But I try and make this deck work every expansion. It's sort of Deathrattle Hunter. We got the bloated Pythons. We got a bunch of secrets. So we're not running any little drops. So we're running our turn 1 plays are the Tracking, Carrion Studies, or True Aim. And we kind of fight for board, play some secrets, then start playing 3 drops, maybe a bloated Python on 2 with the Carrion Studies. And then we got the big Deathrattle stuff. We have the Maxima Blastheart that can pull a card out of our decks and hit him in the face, so we immediately get the Deathrattle effect. If we get that on the Darkmoon tank, it's insane. And then we even have 9 lives, so we can get the Darkmoon tank out and 9 lives just to do 8 damage and get another Darkmoon tank. And finally, we got the Jewel of N'Zoth, the sort of the classic N'Zoth, summon your Deathrattle minions. So I'm not sure. We'll see if this is strong enough. I think you might get run over by aggro, but I'm not sure. So we do have, the True Aim Crescents, the Desert Spears to kind of fight for board early on top of Explosive. I'm running 2 Explosive Traps, the only secret I'm running 2 of. So we're not running as many secrets as the other deck, but we're just kind of, using our weapons, and then we're trying to get our big things going. So, maybe you play a secret, you kind of fight for board, then you play an Urzatron, and then like maybe a Teacher's Pet, and then the Vectis, and then you've kind of used that to get in there. But then you kind of use these big death rattles for this. So we'll see. This archetype didn't work last expansion, and I tried to make it work, but I know this is stop trying to make it work, but I'm going to keep trying to make it work, because I love Deathrattle Hunter. I don't know if you guys know, I was one of the original adopters of the Deathrattle Hunter. I believe Sidisi kind of made some of the initial versions, but I brought it to Vegas for the Specialist format, and it was insanely good against Warriors. So it was a good meta call. I really like this deck, this kind of archetype, so I'm hoping I can make it work here. And this is the last deck. This is Evolve Shaman. And this is one of the, I think while this kind of deck has been made before, but I think it's going to be really strong. Revolve is insanely good, both as a evolve your minions, but also as a devolve their minions. Well, not really devolve, but kind of just change it. So if your opponent has an Edwin, it just becomes a random 3-drop, which is really nice. So you can, like, let's say your opponent is a rogue and they make a, big 8/8 Edwin on turn 3 with their coin, and you go Desert Hare Revolve. Now all of a sudden they have 1 3-drop and you have 3 3-drops, and all that investment in the Edwin is gone. This deck got a ton of help, so I think this deck is going to be really strong. We have Cage Match Custodian, which can draw your Bog Spine Knuckles, and I know if you've played this deck in previous expansions, because it has been a deck, it's always been a deck where if you draw Bog Spine Knuckles is an insanely strong card, but if you don't draw it, you just lose. But now we can consistently draw it and then use Horde Pillager to bring it back again and again. So we're kind of very aggro-y. I'm running one Voracious Reader, but I'm not even sure on that. But we have, Lightning Bloom, so we can kind of sneak things out if we want to go just super fast Bog Spine, for example, stuff like that. And just kind of but we're really not really like, we have Imprisoned Valfings, which is really kind of just looking to delay till like our turn 5 push, or turn 4, maybe if we get a Lightning Bloom or a coin, to just go for that big evolve play that just wins games. So, and then just evolve and rush and evolve. I think this archetype is going to be really, really strong. So that's what but yeah, so this is probably the deck I might be playing immediately. It's the deck I'm kind of most excited of. I've played, John Bray has made a lot of versions of these kind of decks, and this is kind of based off a lot of his old versions. He was running Galakron, but I'm not running Galakron in this version. I'm trying to just win with just tempo quickly instead of trying to ever go for the long game. We do have also the Inara Storm Crash, which can give our hero +2 attack and Wind Fury, so we can use that with Bog Spine. We only can kick it 1 because it'll evolve, but we can also use it as is. So it's just a kind of a thing where I think this card's just really strong independently, even if you don't have a weapon. So it's a card, I think this card's insane. So there might be also an aggro shaman built around this stuff too that I want to try out, but I didn't quite come up with it. So this is kind of what came to mind first. So this is kind of, these are my decks. Remember, if you're short on dust, be hesitant to craft these things. But if you're, you've got some of the cards, you want to take a risk, especially I would say the Shaman deck, I feel like has a lot of potential. I feel like the Paladin deck has a lot of potential. The Hunter decks might have a lot of potential, but I don't know which cards are needed and which cards aren't. So those I wouldn't recommend crafting. But yeah, so yeah, and the Warlock deck. So I think the Warrior deck, especially if you're kind of someone who's just trying to get the Legend for the first time, I feel this kind of deck, just high tempo, very reminiscent of Pirate Warrior, but with some new kind of broken things, could be really strong. So those are the decks I got for you guys. Hope you guys have a fun day climbing on day 1. It's always crazy. It's always a lot of fun. So this is what I got for you guys. I got the code below, so check out the code, copy it in, and just start playing right away. Let me know if you did well with these decks. Let me know if they were just trash. I think last time I made a priest deck that was just kind of reminiscent of the sort of steel priest that eventually became really good, but some of my other decks were not so good. So it's always a gamble. No one really knows. You learn more in 1 hour of testing than you do with 5 hours of theory crafting, but it's still fun to do. So check these out and hope you guys like them.